Nestle has been in Sri Lanka for over 100 years. We have been committed to enhancing the lives of the local community since the very beginning. Today, we are Sri Lanka's largest private sector buyer of fresh milk. As we look at the smiling faces of thousands of dairy farming families, we know that we have kept the promise we made 30 years ago. Nestle, empowering Sri Lankan dairy farmers.
Hello there, very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to your News at 9, coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I'm Joel Outscoon.
And I'm Nicola D'Zoiza. We start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
Local government politicians who assaulted students of the University of Sabaragamuwa still at large. Media reports suggest that Minister Keheli Rambukwala's claim that Dr. Chris Nonis was not invited to the party where he was assaulted are false. Potato farmers from Balimala take to the streets as government program to purchase potatoes is not being implemented. Red card issued by European Commission for Sri Lankan fishing.
And on our top story tonight, 12 students of the Sabaragamuwa University were remanded today after being produced in court and released on bail. The students were produced in court by the Balangoda police on several charges. However, the students charged that the thugs who attacked them are still at large.
The 12 arrested students of the Sabaragamuwa University were produced before the Balangoda Magistrates Court today. The lawyer representing the students, speaking to Newsfirst, noted that the police had charged the students with disrupting the peace by blocking the convoy of Higher Education Minister S.B. Disanayake and participating in an unlawful meeting. The lawyer representing the students had submitted to court that his clients had not obstructed the minister's path and had submitted several demands to him. The lawyer representing the students noted further that the court had not acquiesced to request made by the police to remove students from the Sabaragamuwa hostel and to remove the students engaged in a satyagraha on a stage erected at the Pambahinna junction. Meanwhile, students at the Sabaragamuwa University accused the police of failing to arrest the individuals who attacked them while they were engaged in the satyagraha.
12
students were produced in court for obstructing the Minister of Higher Education. However, students were attacked and continue to receive treatment in hospital. All the required information has been provided. However, the police has yet to apprehend the perpetrators. The students are being suppressed and the perpetrators are being treated in a different manner. We condemn this process. We urge that the perpetrators be apprehended.
The
local government politician is alleged to have assaulted the students. Has he been arrested?
No.
The reason?
It has been reported that he has fled the area.
Are investigations continuing?
Yes, 2 teams are investigating. The students who participated in the Satyagraha campaign were attacked and the stage set on fire on the night of the 10th of this month at about 11 p.m. This is how one of the suspects in the assault, UPFA member of the Imbulpe Pradesh Sabha, Indika Jayamana, acted at the location where the students were participating in the Satyagraha campaign. A Newsfirst reporter captured this footage at the time of the attack. 6 students were injured in this attack. The students note that they were attacked by a group armed with petrol bombs, iron poles, iron chains and other weapons. Local opposition politicians claimed that the law is not being enforced against those responsible for this attack owing to their political connections.
Minister S.B. Disanayake spoke in a manner that insulted the students and their parents who were present there. Local government politicos and thugs in that area have attacked these students. While the students are placed behind bars, these culprits are roaming free. it is clear that this was politically motivated. Thugs are roaming free as a result of political influence. They had entered the premises of the Sabaragama University. I condemn this act.
The incident where the students are alleged to have obstructed the path of Minister S.P. Disanayaka occurred on the 5th of October. The students were made to block the Pambahina junction on the Badulla Colombo main road to stage a demonstration and submit their demands to Minister Disanayaka, who was en route to declare open a new hostel at the university. However, water cannons were used to disperse the students. Lanka Teachers Service Association says that Minister S.P. Disanayaka's statement on his knowledge of the proper treatment to mete out to students is a grave one. The association's General Secretary Mahinda Jayasinghe says that such a statement must be recorded from Minister Disanayaka.
Remain silent. If not, we treat you with stronger force. We are remaining silent these days because of the election. Else we will give the necessary treatment to these makeshift tents. This is a government. Just because one or two of you got onto a tent, do you think we will feel it any more than an ant? You can't even inspire the fear caused by a leech. You are just flies.
The association states further that it is clear that the attack on the students involving government thugs, including a Pradesh Sabha member, was a planned attack, and thereby the government, including the Minister of Higher Education, should take full responsibility. The association charges that arrests pertaining to this attack are being delayed as a result of the government's political protection offered to criminals.
Meanwhile, students attached to the University of Peradeniya staged a protest this evening. The protest was staged demanding that the management faculty of the University of Peradeniya be reinstated. The protest march commenced at 2 this afternoon and made its way to the Kandy town.
Deputy Leader of the United National Party parliamentarian Sajith Premadasa, speaking at an event in Thisamaharama today, commented on the recent attack on a group of students attached to the Sabaragama University.
S.P. Disanayaka Batituma Prakasha Karanawa
Minister S.P. Disanayaka says that as the Minister of Higher Education, he would make Sri Lanka a knowledge of excellence. We saw the manner in which you intend to create the knowledge hub from the recent violence against the students of the Sabaragama University. This is an act of thuggery. University students had never been subjected to acts of thuggery and pressure like this before. This is the manner in which S.P. Disanayaka is attempting to create the knowledge hub of excellence. I would like to urge the Minister S.P. Disanayaka to stop this nonsense immediately. Stop the suppression of university students. Stop all these acts of violence and take measures to ensure that a quality higher education is provided for the future prospects of this country, the university students. Through such violence, attacks and baton charges, what you are trying to build is not a knowledge hub of excellence, but excellence in political savagery.
MP Sajith Premadasa today declared open the Kotha of the Osuvinna Viharaya in Ranmini Thanna Thisamaharama under the Sasunata Aruna program.
Security officers at the Mathura General Hospital charged that they were assaulted by UPFA Southern Provincial Councillor Andra Gunaratna. However, the councillor claims that it was he who was assaulted by the security officers.
A former Pradesh Sabha member who functions as a coordinating secretary and personal chauffeur to Southern Provincial Councillor Aruna Gunaratna had arrived at the Mathura General Hospital yesterday as his wife was going into labour. He says that he had taken the car into the hospital speedily as his wife was on the verge of going into labour.
I left the vehicle there and went to secure the stretcher or a wheelchair for my wife. But these individuals who were private security officials, as far as I know, got my wife and the lady who came to assist to get off the car and then banged on the front of the vehicle and asked for it to be taken away.
However, the security officials claim that the vehicle was not moved even after the patient was admitted.
His wife was admitted to the accident ward, and then one of our security officials had asked him to move the vehicle. He did not move the vehicle, and there were 2 ambulances carrying patients that had been blocked. He did not listen, and our security officials asked him to please move the vehicle outside.
Since there was nothing I could do, I called my political leader, Southern Provincial Councillor Aruna Gunaratne, and told him that I was being troubled.
A short while later, Southern Provincial Councillor Aruna Gunaratne arrived at the location, parked his vehicle across the gate, went up to the accident board and assaulted our security officer there.
The security officer, who was reportedly assaulted by the councillor, was hospitalized last night and treated for his injuries. A man wearing a blue shirt and a sarong slapped me. I was admitted to Ward 3. I was unable to move my neck. Even when I went there, the security officials acted violently and attempted to hit us with poles.
I too was slapped. I asked him not to hit us and moved away. Our IC came there and he attempted to hit him too. He said that he was the boss of Mathura and that he was the nephew of Mahinda Rajapaksa and challenged us to call any senior police officer or even the DIG.
I did not hit anyone, and I think those who were there will affirm this to you. There were members of the hospital staff there in addition to the security officials. They will testify. There were police officers too. An eyewitness had this to say.
There was no wrong on the part of these men. Aruna Gunaratne's people came here and assaulted them. They were armed with poles and beat them. The only thing the guards didn't do was beg as they were being beaten.
The BBC Sandesha reported yesterday that the Cabinet spokesperson's remark that Dr. Chris Nonis was not invited to the party where he was assaulted by an MP was false. Minister Keheliya Rambukwellam had made this remark at the media briefing on Cabinet decisions held last week.
The owner of the house or the host has said that he did not invite the ambassador you mentioned. There are several such factors in this matter. This problem should be taken up from this point.
According to the report on the BBC Sandesha, those who were present at the party held on the night of the 23rd of September in New York have rejected the minister's claim. The BBC Sandesha reports that the party in question was held at the New York home of a representative of a prominent airline in this country. Quoting guests at the party, the BBC Sandesha reports that the airline representative had publicly invited Dr. Chris Nonis to his home at a dinner held at a restaurant the previous day. The report states further that a large gathering including Major General Shavendra Silva, the Sri Lanka permanent representative to the UN in New York, Dr. Palitha Kohana, Deputy Minister Nirupama Rajapaksa, Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva, the Sri Lankan ambassador to the US Prasad Karyavasam and MP Sajin Divas Gunawardena were present at this dinner. The report also reveals that Dr. Chris Nonis and Prasad Karyavasam had travelled to this party in the same vehicle. Speaking to Newsfirst, the former Sri Lankan High Commissioner to the UK, Dr. Nonis, confirmed that he had been assaulted by Sajin Divas Gunawardena at this party. The BBC Sandesha report reveals further that as Sajin Divas Gunawardena continued to attack Dr. Nonis, Prasad Karyavasam and an embassy official had immediately intervened to remove Gunawardena from the scene. Despite this controversy, Dr. Chris Nonis, who handed in his resignation to the President soon after, attended the 2014 convention of the UK Conservative Party in Birmingham a few days after his return to London, where he gave a glowing recommendation for his country.
If you look at the statistics of contemporary Sri Lanka, if you look at the economics, we have a GDP growth rate of over 7% quarter on quarter. We're narrowing the fiscal deficit. We've got historically high external reserves of over $9 billion. We've got single to mid-digit inflation and interest rates. And also, if you look at the latest sovereign bonds, they've been several times oversubscribed, which is an independent surrogate marker of the confidence in contemporary Sri Lanka. And therein lies an opportunity for Britain, because we have probably the best free trade agreement of any country has with India. And India, under Prime Minister Modi today, has phenomenal opportunity.
Media reports noted further that Dr. Nonis had been met with questions regarding the incident in New York at this convention. The British Foreign and Commonwealth Office Minister of State Hugo Swire had reportedly told Dr. Nonis, quote, "Chris, do you understand now why we are exerting such pressure internationally against the government of your country?" unquote. Former Maldivian President Mohammed Nasheed had reportedly questioned whether Nonis was undergoing the same treatment he had endured in the Maldives.
The coming presidential election and every election that will be held will be an election that determines the future of this country. Foreigners and foreign forces are working today to corner the country. These foreign forces cannot be suppressed by diplomatic plays like partying until 3 a.m. and punching people twice in the jaw. The American movement to surround the country cannot be defeated by diplomatic operations like brawling and fistfights. This movement to surround the country can only be defeated through a patriotic diplomatic program.
Dr. Chris Nonis, the former Sri Lankan High Commissioner to the UK, had earlier confirmed that he left the Waldorf with the Sri Lankan ambassador to the US, Prasad Karyawasam, on the invitation extended by Dilan Aryawansa the previous night. Dr. Nonis had confirmed that he was invited by the host Dilan Aryawansa as he had not attended the dinner hosted by him the year before. He had also confirmed that Ambassador Karyawasam accompanied him inside his vehicle to the dinner hosted by Aryawansa.
In more local news, this evening, UMP Assistant Leader Ravi Karunanayake visited the Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Cardinal Malcolm Ranjit today.
The meeting took place at the Bishop's house in Colombo. We spoke about good governance in the country. How are we to rebuild a country that has deteriorated in this way? We prayed that we would be able to re-establish the good values that existed in politics in the past. We also agreed that an impartial investigation was necessary into the assault on Dr. Nonis. I asked him about the Pope's visit to Sri Lanka. We discussed the talk about upcoming elections and prayed that this would not be an obstacle in any way to the Pope's visit.
The national leader of the Upcountry People's Front, Minister of Botanical Gardens and Public Recreation, V. Radhakrishnan, visited the chief prelates in Kandy today and obtained their blessings. The Deputy Minister who arrived in Kandy met with the Chief Prelate of the Malwathu chapter of the Siam sect, the Most Venerable Thibatwe Sri Sumangala Thera.
It was unjust. He attacked us while we were speaking. Reverend, this has gone international. This is not good.
You can talk and resolve it.
Yes, it can be resolved through discussion. This is the first time something like this has happened. I am saddened. No matter how good we are, what are we to do when these people act like this?
Subsequently, the Deputy Minister met the Chief Prelate of the Askeri chapter of the Siam sect, the Most Venerable Udugama Sri Buddha Rakita Thera. I will not speak of the election. That is nothing to do with us. No matter who comes, we always say that we do not care who is elected. If a leader who loves the country and is able to work for the country and win the praise of the people, then we will bless that individual. It does not matter who it is. There are such people at present. In the future, there will be a person who loves the country and is able to work for it.
I have been speaking of estate housing from the day I was elected to Parliament. I have said the government should provide proper housing for the people. I can say that the government has not shown much enthusiasm towards this as yet. Although we are in the government, what can we say? We can only express our lament. There has been no resolution to this. However, the President has promised he will build 50,000 homes. There has been no plans as yet. It would be good if the plan is established and work is initiated on these houses. The President is capable of doing that.
Will you pledge support at a future election?
We do not know whether presidential election or parliamentary election will be held in the future. We do not know when the presidential election will be held. So we will think hard about it and give a good response later.
After meeting with the Mahanayakas in Kandy today, Deputy Minister V. Radhakrishnan told that media that his secretary was also injured during the attack on him and his son, a provincial councillor, during the Kotmale Development Coordinating Committee meeting yesterday.
This was not a fight. This was an unexpected incident. While I was chairing the Kotmale Development Committee meeting, a provincial councillor continued to obstruct my work. When we were leaving the premises, the councillor in question attacked my secretary. My son and I were the targets of this attack. However, we survived this attack. My secretary was attacked. He is receiving treatment in hospital. We have lodged a complaint with the police and we will take legal action against this attack. A complaint has been lodged with the Kotmale police against Ceylon Workers Congress Central Provincial Councillor M. Ramesh over the attack that took place at the Kotmale Division Development Committee meeting. Meanwhile, the police media unit said that a complaint had been lodged by the CWC Councillor Ramesh over the incident as well. The police added that investigations have been launched on both complaints. A heated argument broke out between Deputy Minister V. Radhakrishnan, Councillor R. Rajaram and Councillor R. Ramesh during the Kotmale Division Development Coordination Committee meeting yesterday. Thereafter, the Development Committee meeting was adjourned indefinitely. The assault on the Deputy Minister's secretary was carried out when the group was leaving the premises.
Meanwhile, a meeting was held today to mark the launch of the proposed 19th Amendment to the Constitution by Venerable Athuraliya Rathanathera, the coordinator of the Pivituru Hetak National Council. The event was held at the BMICH in Colombo.
The proposals were launched with a view to establishing a public dialogue on democracy, good governance and national reconciliation. Political party leaders, professionals and civil society representatives were among those in attendance at the event. Former Chief Justice Sarathan Silva was the first to address the gathering.
The Constitution should never be amended for the benefit of an individual or party with selfish aspirations. If it is done through such a selfish process, it would be perverse to the person who does it and the entire country. Dear Bhikkhus, what do our teachings say will happen when something is done with selfish intentions, grief and despair? Is anyone able to free themselves of such grief and sadness through auspicious times professed by astrologers? That is the question I pose to this respected gathering.
Subsequently, copies of the proposed 19th Amendment to the Constitution were presented to the distinguished guests by Venerable Athuraliya Rathanathera.
We can see that the constitutional executive powers have caused some sort of tragedy in this country. Law is essential in the continuity of a country. The rule of law is essential. When the rule of law is not upheld, the rule of the individual arises. A country cannot be governed through the rule of the individual instead of the rule of law. Today we are gradually moving towards one extreme.
And now in business news, farmers from Valimada today staged protests charging that the government has not put in place a proper program to purchase their potato harvest. They pointed out that after the Uber Provincial Council polls, their produce are not being purchased in a streamlined manner.
The government took measures to increase the import tax on potatoes and subsequently banned the importation of potatoes after locally produced potatoes flooded the market. However, as imported potatoes had been stockpiled in the country, private traders were compelled to purchase a kilogram of locally produced potatoes for a price between 50 to 60 rupees. As a result of this situation, the government decided to purchase a kilogram of potatoes from farmers in the Badula district for a certified price of 80 rupees. Although it was said that Satusa will purchase a kilogram of potato for 80 rupees, Satusa has failed to purchase the entire harvest. Why? Because Satusa is not capable of it. Therefore, we expect that proposals will be formulated in Parliament over what long-term solutions will be for the issue that is being faced by potato cultivators in the country.
බෙහෙවින් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
ඕනෑ තරම් අර්ථකථන ප්‍රමාණයක් තියෙන එකක් අපිට කියන්න තැන අපි ඒක ඔක්කොම ගන්නවා.
If there is a place where there is an excess in potatoes, please do tell us. We will purchase the entire lot. There is an advantage in putting forward such an initiative during this election period. The proposal was presented by MP from the JVP. However, we will receive the publicity to highlight the fact that the program is being implemented. Let both parties get the mileage. All this is being done for the ballot. However, soon after the polls, farmers were forced to keep their produce out in the open for days as Satusa was unable to purchase the potatoes. As a mark of protest, farmers gathered in Badulla today. Farmers from Valimada, Beralanda, Bogahakumbura, Alavatugoda and Kapitipola demanded their produce be purchased at the certified price as pledged prior to the polls. Meanwhile, lorries that did not arrive to purchase the harvest to the farmers over the past few days were seen at the purchasing centres today. Their intention to purchase potatoes. Over the past few days, the government had purchased potatoes targeting the elections. Less than 10% of the whole harvest had been reaped at that time. So what has happened today? The government has given a natural death to the process of purchasing potatoes after the elections. These innocent farmers have been forced to sell their produce for 50 or 60 rupees per kilogram. Therefore, we request the government not to try and deceive the farmers.
The United National Party held a media briefing today. Parliamentarian Akila Biraj Karyabasam expressed the following views.
They reduced the price of a number of goods that affect the public prior to the budget. This process, however, began with the UA Provincial Council polls. The public servants, along with the majority of the people in the country, have made their decision. The people are well aware that the carrot approach is targeted at obtaining votes. They are playing all their trumps. They are trying to empty the reserves, use loan money that were taken for projects to directly distribute them amongst the public as grants in the coming 3 months. The Rajapaksa regime is going to play out the people similar to a 2020 match.
2020 match එකක් ගහන්න තමයි රාජපක්ෂ ආණ්ඩුව රෙජීම් එක කටයුතු කරන්නේ.
In its fight against illegal fishing activities worldwide, the European Commission today proposed to ban imports of fisheries products from Sri Lanka to tackle the commercial benefits stemming from illegal fishing. A press release issued by the European Commission notes that the move comes after 4 years of intense dialogue with Sri Lanka, after which it could not demonstrate that it sufficiently addressed illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing. In contrast, the Commission today confirmed that Belize, Fiji, Panama, Togo and Vanuatu, which had received warnings at the same time as Sri Lanka, have successfully taken measures to tackle illegal fishing. European Commissioner for Maritime Affairs and Fisheries, Maria Damanaki, said, quote, "I hope that the message we are sending today will be a wake-up call for this country," unquote. According to the Commission's assessment, Sri Lanka has not sufficiently addressed the shortcomings in its fisheries control system identified in November 2012. The main weaknesses include shortcomings in the implementation of control measures, a lack of deterrent sanctions for the high seas fleet, as well as lacking compliance with international and regional fisheries rules. The European Commission noted that the full trade measures will only come into force in mid-January 2015, which is 3 months after the decision is published in the EU's official journal. When News First made inquiries, the Deputy Minister of Fisheries and Aquatic Resource Development, Sarath Kumar Gunaratne, noted that Sri Lanka had been given 3 months to rectify the issues, adding that the ministry would not allow for Sri Lankan fisheries products to be banned anywhere in the world.
We are carrying out discussions with the European Commission. They have sent us a list of recommendations to rectify the shortcomings we have by December. By now, we have carried out the necessary discussions as well as prepared the necessary circulars. On the 16th, we will hold a face-to-face video conference with the leaders of the European Commission in Brazil to further clarify matters on this issue. No ban has been put in place. An international organization of that magnitude would not just impose such a ban on a country. We are taking the necessary necessary steps regarding this matter. We are creating the right backdrop. We will not allow such a ban be imposed on Sri Lanka.
What you just witnessed is from a news item telecast on the main news bulletin at 10 p.m. on our sister channel Sirius TV last night. We revealed that for a period of 1.5 months, water from this tank has been leaking and going to waste. Today, officials have taken steps to find a solution to this problem.
We showed the manner in which the water is continuously leaking from this tank that supplies water to the 797 housing scheme, also bringing to your attention the difficulties faced by area residents. Area residents said that it has been 45 days since water started leaking out of the tank that was constructed in the year 1992. The leak was caused by a malfunction of the section of a tank which closes automatically when the tank is full. Although a valve stopped the flow of water, it too had been inactive for several months. Residents of the housing scheme praised News First for drawing the attention of officials to this matter.
This issue was not rectified until yesterday. It was after the revelation on Sirisa that the problem was addressed.
A solution was provided to a problem that did not see an end. We thank Sirisa.
If Sirisa TV does something, the attention of the relevant authorities will be directed to it. Work began on the tank this morning. We thank Sirisa for this.
The Australian government's secretive operation Sovereign Borders was tested for the first time at the High Court in Canberra today as 157 asylum seekers reportedly of Sri Lankan origin challenged the Australian government's ambit to detain them in high seas without any legal agreement to do so.
Australian media reported the first hearing of the two-day High Court case heard that the Australian government could have sent the asylum seekers straight to Australia or Nauru once they were rescued from the boat which had suffered a pump failure 16 nautical miles off Christmas Island on the 29th of June despite negotiating with India to take back the Sri Lankan nationals. Queen's Counsel Ron Merkel, who is acting on behalf of a Sri Lankan asylum seeker given the pseudonym CPCF, says that the detention resulted in a torturous journey for the asylum seekers aboard the vessel, among them 50 children, as they were only allowed just 3 hours out of the vessel each day. Merkel argued that sending the asylum seekers to India could have resulted in indirect refoulement, meaning they could have been sent back to Sri Lanka. The Australian government's lawyers insist the detention at sea was legal and the plan to send them to India did not breach Australia's non-refoulement obligations under international law. The government of Australia maintains it was lawful for the ship to be travelling to India while negotiations were still underway.
The UNP is the single largest political party in the country. The party, which has been in government for 33 years and 10 months, is at present in opposition for more than 18 years. The deterioration of the main opposition party has a serious effect on the democracy in our country. While the country should have a strong government, ensuring that the opposition is strengthened is a responsibility the independent media cannot forego.
At every instance that the UNP National Executive Committee has been strong and active, the party has been able to form a government. The Executive Committee held all the power in the party. It was the Executive Committee that appointed the party leader. The structure of the Executive Committee is such that it represents party supporters from all over the country. A large number of members of the electorate councils are part of the Executive Committee. The Executive Committee is constituted with their participation. The party leader determined by this Executive Committee is given the power to appoint a working committee. That is how the working committee is established. The Executive Committee provides a strong structure for the party to be rebuilt. It presents party supporters from all over the country, and it is there that discussions are held and powers vested. So if an institution confers some power on the leadership, then that institution has the power to take that power back. That is the power the executive committee has. The person granting the power has the power to take it back. In the past, the working committee comprised of good intellectuals. They put forward good ideas and discussed and debated everything. They were not people who said yes and accepted everything. Nevertheless, the current leadership of the party has suppressed the National Executive Committee for their own benefit and protection and has strategically conferred these powers in the working committee. Former general secretaries of the party say that as a result, a working committee which blindly adopts all the decisions of the leader with no debate or scrutiny has been created. A majority of those included in this working committee are loyalists of the current leader and persons who have no voter base. Subsequently, the party was handed 18 years in opposition and 28 election defeats. The voter base of the UNP too deteriorated by about 50%. Another factor pointed out by former general secretaries of the party is that in the face of this deterioration of the voter base, the current leader violated the constitution and acted strategically to protect his own leadership by creating new positions and shuffling positions around. As the party continued to face defeat and the voter base continued to deteriorate, pressure was exerted on the leadership from both within and outside the party. At this instance, the party leader strategically appointed individuals to new positions and put on a show that he was devolving power, using this to evade the challenge put to him. He has not taken steps at any instance to devolve powers of the leadership. A perfect example of this is the UNP's United Leadership Council. Another example was the strategic dissolution of the position of deputy leader shortly after MP Sajid Premadasa's election to the position in 2011, following which the leader also took steps to have Premadasa removed from the working committee. The current leader, through such cunning strategy, has divided the party's second tier and created conflict among them and has followed a policy of divide and rule. More tomorrow.
Dr. Shashi Tharoor, Congress Party member of India's Lok Sabha, says he is considering the matter of his removal at the party as the party's spokesperson as closed.
Indian media reported yesterday that Congress Party President Sonia Gandhi has decided to sack Dr. Tharoor as the spokesperson of the party's decision-making body, the All India Congress Committee, following his glowing praise for Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Never out of the news. As the spokesperson of the Congress Party, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, Lok Sabha MP for Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala, was a permanent feature on the Indian news media. Tharoor is a hugely popular figure in India and was at one point the main contender for the position of UN Secretary General alongside the incumbent Ban Ki-moon. It also seemed to come apart, however, following the death of his wife, Sunanda Pushkar, in January this year, in what appeared to be a suicide but is still under investigation. This was further compounded by a recent autopsy report which suggested that Pushkar had been poisoned.
I knew since the beginning that this was not an accidental death, but she was murdered. People who are involved are powerful people. I had asked earlier also to hand over the case to the Central Bureau of Investigation.
Now enough indications to show that the Delhi police didn't provide the information to the autopsy board which should have been provided. So the Delhi police was obviously under some pressure not to act. It is also now established that her body contained some poison.
The Delhi police, however, note that the evidence is still incomplete and inconclusive. In his statement issued yesterday, Dr. Tharoor noted that as a loyal worker of the Congress Party, he accepts the decision of the party president to relieve him of his duties as a spokesman. Noting that he is yet to see the complaint reportedly filed by his Congress colleagues in Kerala, Tharoor added that he would have welcomed an opportunity to respond to it and to draw the attention of the AICC leadership to the full range of his statements and writings on contemporary political issues. Pundits say that while no longer a spokesman of his beloved Congress Party, the enigmatic Dr. Shashi Tharoor will continue to capture the headlines, both at home and abroad.
The The promotional vehicular parade of the Sports First Mobitel Platinum Awards, which commenced its island-wide journey in Jaffna recently, is currently touring the Central Hills.
The promotional vehicular parade of the Sports First Mobitel Platinum Awards, which is intended to recognize the unsung heroes of Sri Lankan sport, reached Gampola today. The promotional program commenced there with a commemorative plaque being presented to weightlifter Sanjay Kavinda from the Navalapitiya Central College, following which application forms for the awards were obtained by sportsmen and women in the area. For more information on the Sports First Mobitel Platinum Awards, call 0710 420 420.
In some cricket news this evening, the Sri Lanka A team recorded a comprehensive 10-wicket victory against the visiting West Indies A team in the first 4-day unofficial test that concluded in Hambantota today. The West Indies A team, batting in their second innings on the final day of the unofficial test at the Surya Weber Mahinda Rajapaksa International Cricket Stadium, were bundled out for 285 runs, leaving Sri Lanka A a target of 33 runs for victory. Sri Lanka A reached the target in 4.3 overs with all 10 wickets in hand.
Well, that's a wrap of your primetime news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Nicola De Zoiza.
And I'm Joel Artskoon. Take care and good night.